Sounds good to me.
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with these nerds. And it is time for us to get nerdy and talk about our 100th episode of the live chats. So that's really freaking cool. I can't believe we've done 100 of these. We've had so many cool guests on so far. And I think you guys know who I'm hanging out with today. We got Nerdarchist Ted in the house and Nate the Nerdarch.
Greetings.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing excellent. If I was any better, I'd be twins. If I could just get rid of this cold, then life will be peachy.
Twinned like the spell, like twice as much Dave?
Be twice as much Dave, that's right.
For just a slight increase.
Or like or maybe like a doppelganger.
Could we handle another Dave?
Yes, we could absolutely handle another Dave. We need 5 more Daves.
Oh my god. That might be too much. Congrats, Confetti, 100th live chat, sick milestone, the lawyer. Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, although Doppeldaver, nice. Although I will admit, it is kind of because we do so many live chats a week, it is easy to hit that 100 mark. It doesn't take quite as long. And had we not mixed it up with like games in there, then we would hit it a little while ago. So, but it's okay.
Running an average of 2 games a week. That tends to slow things down.
So I'm curious what people prefer. Do they prefer the live chats or they prefer us running the games? That is the question. Also, speaking of questions, if you guys have any, drop them in the chat. Just put like question in front of it or GM91 in front of it. Just something to let us know that it's a question and it's not just you guys chattering back and forth or talking to the void. It makes it a lot easier.
I'd like to
add you guys put GM911 because it feels more like a Nerdarchy thing.
Yes. I would also add to that question, do you enjoy the guest or do you also like seeing us just hang out online?
That is weird. Like we'll get like really cool guests on and like people won't show up and then it'll just be us talking about nothing and like 100 people will show up. It's crazy.
So I wanted to know, is that because it's, you know, our group of subscribers interested in seeing our stuff, or if it's just happens to be that just kind of weird happenstance?
Oh no, Fragginator, just static on your end, huh? You've been having trouble with the live chats lately. I don't know if it's Google, your internet, something in between, maybe a combination.
Let's just blame Google.
We'll just blame Google.
Don't say it. Tell them I said that.
I think a lot of times it's the internet connection more than anything. Stop using the wooden internet. Let's see. Todd, I enjoy guests. Contempt 83. I don't know how seriously we should take you with a name like Contempt 83. Maybe it was Contempt merely 82. No, I like the live chats because you answer questions. The game would be cool, but our chat problem would be distracting. It can be, but sometimes we integrate the chat in, and I guess the more you do it, you get better at kind of like navigating both.
All right, so we got GM901 from Writer's Block. How do you guys put in a new villain to your campaign with new players, especially when it's a very powerful villain like an ancient dragon?
So, foreshadowing, that is something you start with like foreshadowing. I would say, like, oh, you know, there was a caravan that was hit, and you know, basically the only thing that was left, well, like I actually want to reference Game of Thrones on this one, but in case people haven't seen that episode, I don't want to have any spoilers, but you know, you could have someplace attacked by it and the players investigate the aftermath, right? Because obviously they can't square off against the dragon. That's not going to work. But if they come across, you know, an inn that's been destroyed, or they come across a caravan where some of the wagons are burned, some of the animals are burned, some of the animals are torn up, and some of the animals are missing, and some of the wagons have just been destroyed. Maybe, you know, maybe they come along, maybe they can maybe they come across one lone survivor, right? And just as he expires, he's only able to gasp out fire and fangs before he dies, you know, or something to start getting them thinking, and also to really create, you know, set the scene and create this like foreboding, like, man, this is this could be bad.
So I look at it in what is the goal of the dragon? What's going on that's going to actually put, you know, the dragon or this villain in confrontation with the players, and you can work up to whatever it takes to get there. And you know, perfect case in point is, you know, Dave's game where we were 6th level and we were seeing an Empyrean. So it's like, okay, well, we can't go fight an Empyrean despite what the players were actually thinking about doing at the time. So you have to find a way to say, okay, well, there's got to be some kind of barrier so that they can't actually get to the thing because they're just going to get slaughtered. And you have to have the knowledge of what they're fighting come to them, whether it be by their own actions or yours, so that they can be able to work up to dealing with that threat. And it could be a series of different quests that are linked to what's going on so that you're constantly, you know, being a thorn in this thing's side. Or it could be like, all right, well, we're going to mitigate what he's doing, and then we're going to do side quests to actually power up and find things that are going to aid us in specifically bringing down this threat.
I'm going to go along with what Ted said a little bit, and yeah, it's definitely motivation is going to determine what's the dragon supposed to be doing and how is it supposed to be doing it, and that's going to show you ways that the PCs will interact with it. And it really, I don't want to say like, oh, it's like that Nintendo boss thing where, you know, you're always leveling and like Final Fantasy style, you're able to fight the end guy at the end, but really you're literally and figuratively beneath the dragon's notice for a very long time. If it's an ancient dragon and it has, you know, an extensive reach of power and all those things, that's just not going to come up that you're even mentioned, even if you've caused it a little trouble. I mean, do you, when a horde of goblins, you know, bother the region, do you say, oh, well, this particular group of goblins, and I know their names, these people are being a problem? It's the same thing with, you know, the dragon compared to adventurers. You're just goblins infesting their region as far as it's concerned, until you make yourself a big enough pain in the butt to it for it to care. And if it's being a spy or something like that, and it's always polymorphed, maybe no one knows it's a dragon, and it uses kind of dragon inspired stuff. Like maybe there's a cult of dragon and it's at the head of it, but it's almost like a inside joke in a sense, because to it is the thing that everybody's worshiping, but it is actually also has a direct hand in what's going on. And it's kind of a cover, because it can always just escape and then be like, well, I'm still a dragon. Everyone just thought I was some kind of dragon cult guy.
So also kind of a fun thing would be to use like the dragon, have him show up kind of shape-shifted, but have access to some of his abilities like Dragon Fear, especially if you're talking about a low-level party where, of course, like heroes tend to like math off to the villain or the bad guy, but he could just turn the Dragon Fear on them. And if they're low level, the chances of, you know, being able to resist an Ancient Red's fear isn't very good. And it almost nullifies the fact that you're going to go, oh, you know, I've always had the problem with my players, no matter how outclassed they are, they still want to fight it anyway. You know, so they get stuck in this idea that everything they encounter is going to be equal to their challenge level. So maybe you guys have a different experience with your players.
I think you need to just shake it up every once in a while and give them something that will end up killing them if they fight it. But have it be that, unless it's really extreme and they just won't leave them alone, like our Ancient Red could just backhand a whole bunch of low-level people. Like literally just, that's its only attack. It's just slap them out of his way as he walks around. So there's a certain level of, eventually you got to say to yourself, Great Axe versus backhand isn't working, isn't winning this encounter. Perhaps I should think of something else to do.
I was actually surprised in my game when the party fled a group of wraiths.
Oh, that's good. That shows learning, because wraiths are nasty.
Well, they wrecked them first, but
so they didn't. They messed around with them and then they left.
We fought the first set, and when the second set showed up, we're like, we ain't going through that again. We're done. We're out of here. I was out of turns. and those suckers hit hard.
All right,
I was just happy to be able to Eiffel Tower some players with wraiths. That was pretty funny. Every once in a while, it's like you said, you got to shake it up, Nate.
Yeah.
But had it been an Empyrean or something, they would have totally fought it.
Well, there's, sometimes you just got to kick a character to death, get them to learn a little bit.
So, Ivan, GM 911, what's your favorite were creature that's not in the monster manual? I know Ted's.
Okay, well, what is mine?
Yours is a were crocodile or were alligator.
The were crocs are pretty awesome.
I was thinking scorpion personally.
I like were shark because I got a mini of that, and I just picked up a were armadillo, so I think that's pretty interesting. But if you really want to go crazy, you got to go old school into the actual werewolf subsets, and you got to go with the Mokale, the were dinosaurs.
Oh man, I actually did run a campaign where I made like where dinosaur-ish type people on this like island. But yeah,
I remember that game.
I don't know that I have a favorite per se. Although you mentioning the were shark, I think that's a really good one that isn't in there because actually like probably my favorite has always been the were boar. They get little love, but I just like them for some reason.
I like were spiders. I'm not sure if that's my favorite, but I like them.
Hey, this question thing's working. A lot of people are using it.
Excellent. Makes it a lot easier.
David Silver, question: did any of you pick up the Critical Taladori campaign guide? If not, are you? I could have probably. Well, in theory, I could have picked it up at Gen Con. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that thing probably sold out pretty fast. I actually have it pre-ordered.
I think I do as well. I'm actually going to go look.
You're going to go look. I do have it pre-ordered, and I believe there's a different release date for Amazon and than there is for maybe in the stores or something like that. So when it shows up, I'm going to check it out, and I'm sure we'll probably bust that open and take a look for you guys.
Yep.
So I'm actually not going to pick it up because I'm cheap and both of you are going to own it. So I'm just going to piggyback off that.
So September 12th, according to Amazon.
I think you can pick up the PDF. I've been debating. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Well, if we pick up the PDF, we could check it out and talk about it. So there's that.
True. That's true. People don't want to hear about that, do they?
That's the advantage. You can be like, should I really read this other campaign setting? Well, yeah, because it can be Nerdarchy stuff.
That is the advantage.
It's your job, technically.
All right, so Inkboy says, I have a paladin who thinks that all the enemies should be dealt with peacefully, but the rogue of the party wants to kill everything. How do I fix the conflict this causes?
It's a conflict as old as time.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. There isn't anything the DM has to do. This is entirely a character-on-character discussion. This should be role-played out.
Because check this out. This would normally devolve into a fight if it was anything except a peaceful paladin or a peaceful monk or something like that. Because technically, how he's supposed to stop the rogue from killing people if he's peaceful?
I don't know. He could smite the rogue into unconscious over and over again.
All right, fine. Words are not the way to solve problems. I will solve your problem. Boom!
Yeah, I wouldn't try and fix it so much as be like, hey guys, you guys figure it out so I don't have to waste an hour at the table while everyone else is like, oh, the rogue and paladin are fighting again.
I honestly, I think that as long as it doesn't actually, degenerate into PvP, characters that are constantly at role-playing odds make for good party dynamics.
Oh, I'd agree. I just don't want to see 5 people waiting around for the paladin and the rogue to argue for an hour every game session.
Oh, that's true.
So I guess the real question too is, where does the rest of the party fall on this discussion? Are they weighing in, and does no one else really care? Live, die, does not matter. So that could be a party discussion, or throw in villains that they need to keep alive, so that would change things up, or have consequences because the rogue killed someone that they needed to show up later on down the road. Like literally, like they're looking for something. Oh yeah, I know who knows that, so and so, and then they're like, oh wait a minute, we killed that guy.
That guy.
And Val can be like, I told you so. The flip side of that, if you have enemies that the paladin spares, you can have them come back and do something truly dastardly. So then the rogue can be like, I told you so.
Yeah,
so
prove both of them right. That's a good idea.
I don't know if that actually solves the problem or anything. I might be just fanning the flames. But at the end of the day, like Ted said, party conflict can be interesting. But like Nate said, not if it devolves into an hour-long argument every session between these characters. So the middle ground is hard, and unfortunately, it's not the DM. It's not the DM that's going to be able to just go in there and fix this. This is a discussion that these players have to have and work out.
So the other thing is if it is frequently devolving into an argument and it's interrupting, like, be an interruption. Have something happen. An NPC, shows up and needs someone's help right now. You can have a monster attack. You can have, some kind of environmental effect go on, and this can stop the argument mid-argument because they now have to deal with a change in circumstance.
That's a good point.
So,
Ted.
like, you've got the ability to, change. And interrupt what's going on when it's being disruptive. You as the DM have the ultimate power to make those changes. So if you're tired of hearing those arguments, when it happens, maybe the gods themselves don't want to hear this, and they're forcing the hand of just shut up already and move on. I don't want to always go to divine intervention, but like, if you need to, you can.
Well, divine intervention
I would just
could
be like GM intervention, be like, guys, this is not the game I want to run, and I will stop running the game if you guys can't come. Mature individuals, if they're not adults, but out of game solutions for this kind of stuff is always better. Ink Boy says it has evolved into, it's caused a civil war in the party, and this could be something that possibly should have been addressed in a session 0 or social contract, where you're like, certain behaviors are not acceptable at the table, and I, as the GM, do not want to play those games or run those games. And you kind of just lay it out there, because everybody at the table should be having fun, including the GM. And if it's messing up the game for you, then you might want to find different people to run the game for. I'm not saying it has to be that drastic, but you can let them know at a certain point, I would rather run this game for other people than for people that don't respect the game we're playing. So you're just gonna have to talk it out. I like magic items that level up too. I think both Lavoyer and Tabletop Gaming with Juice have mentioned it. Hey, Juice, and actually hi to everyone if you're just joining us. Hi, Nate. He says he just it's the first time he's been catching one of these. He just wanted to pop in and say hi. So hi right back at you. Writer's Block has a GM 911. What are your favorite classes or races as NPCs for the players to meet? Personally, I like weird stuff. I like to throw in things that they wouldn't expect to meet as an NPC. Maybe it's a monster like the Grell that I used in the Underdark campaign. I thought that was a lot of fun to throw him in there as like a kind of like a gangster and a mobster, and it was like just like different and unusual.
I like things that I can do weird and amusing voices with. I like things that are going to be significant enough that players are going to remember and want to go back to, but I don't know whether that really falls into races and classes, because I don't always associate NPC to a class. It's like they're a thing, and they don't always fall neatly into one package or another. But I'll agree with Dave on race that throwing in things that they're not likely to typically meet in a town is always fun.
I agree. But something I like to always role play is I always like to role play the blacksmiths of the town. And as far as races, I'm more with Dave and Ted on this, where rather than a PC race or something, I like the alien mindset. So I like to introduce the characters to a different way of thinking from this perspective of this NPC. So I really enjoyed playing Ziggy, the arcane construct that lived inside a box, and basically like things like Torcreen or Thrycreen. They've got that insectoid mindset to them, and different things like that. I enjoy role playing that more than I enjoy role playing NPC elves or something.
Like, I guess a good example would be in a game I ran last night that I used. Everyone in the chat was calling it a grung, and I looked at the picture for the grung, but if I had to pick a grung, I don't know that it was particularly one of those. I don't know that it would have been the same alignment or anything like that. I just wanted to use a tree frog dude. so that's what he was. You know, I think we really enjoy how NPCs are done in the Curse of Strahd, and moving forward from there with the pre-planned material, where they're built more like a monster than they are an NPC, and they're or character class, and it's like a very specific, unique monster. There's only one, and maybe they have abilities that only they have. So they're unique. And when we started doing our friend or foe, that's what we started modeling after, because we thought that was just a cool way to do it.
Speaking of friend or foe, Ivan has a GM911. He says, shamelessly plug our Patreon for this special episode.
What do you say?
Ivan, shamelessly plug your Patreon for this special episode and ask the subscribers, even though most people watching are subscribed. I would say like our regular viewers tend to be also our Patreon subscribers, but that's just my impression.
So feel free to ask whatever questions you want, GM911s, or just weird facts about Nerdarchy, and perhaps we will even supply them. Maybe ask individuals about other individuals in Nerdarchy.
Overlord of Midgar has a question. They've got a Druid player who wants to focus more on darker side of nature, like rot and decay, without going necromancer. Suggestions for this character concept?
Nate, you were talking last night on the phone about your Ironhull Druid who wanted to be an undead Druid. So like you've got the most experience on this one.
Well, one of my old NPCs was a Druid, and I guess 3.5 or whatever. I'm trying to think of the edition we actually played it in, and he had like one of the last forests on this like really desolate, cold world, and it was a moving forest made up of treants and unliving treants, but immortal treants. Let's call them that. Is what the Druid thought of it as. And basically, he just saw it as slowing down time, like slowing down the natural progression of things. And I'd say as far as without going necromancer, I think it was last Patreon reward levels for the month of August. I had a whole bunch of create shamblers and fungal shamblers, and those are all, and create fungal servants, and those are basically similar to the creating undead, but they were plant-based, fungal-based creatures. And I just kind of situated it where it was very similar to what the create undead spell was, but it was all kind of nature-based and nature-based creatures. So you could go kind of necromancer, but just have it be that you're basically giving life and movement to plants and fungus.
So I've always liked the concept of the dark druid, and obviously like disease and decomposition. These are all part of nature, so you can totally incorporate them, even without the necromancy aspect. I mean, you could do it like you said with like the animating of stuff, but even without it, like there's still plenty of stuff there. Pestilence, all that stuff is part of nature, whether we like it or not. Or I've also liked the really savage version of the druid where You know, he just revels in the wildness of nature. And in this edition, it's a little bit easier to do, where you have the circle of the moon, where you can essentially be almost a were creature yourself. So we had a dark god of the hunt, Organis, in one of our previous campaign settings that we had fleshed out a bunch of stuff with, and he may or may not make an appearance. So like, he was definitely a good god for darker druids. Maltritus was our god of storm, and he was also another good god for druids, for the darker aspects anyway. Didn't necessarily have to do with the stuff you're talking about, but yeah, I could definitely see doing something along those lines.
Yeah, I actually had a character who was a barbarian druid who enjoyed killing, who was a barbarian druid, who followed Morgana's. Back in the 3.5 days.
Yeah, way back when.
There's
some Jogo. I think there's some Jogo love in the chat as well. Thanks, guys.
Kyle Ellis says Druid of composting, vicious composting. That'd be the dark druid.
Nice. Well, and that's too like Kyle Ellis. I want to make a druid of forest fire, since fires lead to regrowth of fire and removal of deadfall. But that makes me think like wildfires is very much a part of nature. They happen on their own. Dryness combined with lightning, that's going to happen, and it is kind of a part of nature. I don't know if we're ready for this question, but I'll throw it out there. Nelson Olson asked about, can you talk about the City of Brass and the Efreet? So I have not messed with that very much. I mean, I love the Efreeti conceptually in the City of Brass, the idea where this place is ruled by evil jinn.
That could always be an episode that we do, a video.
Yeah, I'm not overly familiar with City of Brass. To me, it's a magic card that you tap it, you take a point of damage, and get whatever mana color you need.
That was a great magic card.
It's a little bit different in D&D. It exists on the elemental plane of fire.
You can't tap it.
To me, it would be a hard place to adventure. That's for sure. It gets a little hot there, is my understanding.
Yeah, and I think everyone's opinion of you, of who you belong to, like which master do you belong to? Because if you're just a regular old humanoid, you're probably somebody's pet or somebody's slave or something. You're not high up in the hierarchy. You can't be. That's the impression I get.
You laughing at Jacob's comment?
Yeah, you started something, Ted.
So Juice chimed in and wanted to know, more about the deity names that we were talking about. We actually made a whole pantheon for our world. It was Old Ganya back then. It was a full spectrum of 30 deities across the 9 alignments and what have you. It's a lot of work, put into that campaign setting, and some of it is leaking its way into Chimes of Discordia for ease, since we already did the work back then.
Yeah, we're selectively adding them.
Yeah, the deities that we were kind of particularly fond of are the ones that are getting kind of like filtrated back in, because I don't know if you remember, Juice, when they did the Wizards had the open call for a campaign setting, like that was one of the campaign settings that we had kind of introduced, and we were kind of influenced by one of the the series that we had all had read by, what was that, Mickey Zucker?
Mickey Zucker.
That's the one. Last of the Renshai, which the world was basically revolved around the law of chaos axis instead of like good or evil. So we kind of like put elements of that into it, and a lot of the different things that appear in our current campaign are kind of from that. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, we got beat by Eberron, and Eberron was so much better.
We're happy to be beat by Eberron back in the day. Yeah, I think the only new good deity we have really is the Beggar King.
Yeah, most of them are kind of rehashes of what we've been doing. It's just kind of easier that way. Yeah, was Juice said he remembers us discussing that, and also I had to break Keith Baker's balls for beating us. I'm like, you bastard.
So, real quick, Juice was like, would like to know what campaigns we submitted. So there was Oldganya, which was, our primary world that we were playing in for a while. It had this full enriched pantheon, and then Dave actually went and did a submittal for, would you call it Shattered Realm?
Yeah, Shattered Realm.
And this was a world that was more like floating continents, and there wasn't the great bodies of water. So like airship,
right?
Yeah, so there were airships and a lot of things on that vein. There were sorcereress kings or ogres or
there was sorcerer, like there was a kingdom of sorcerer kings, and then there was a kingdom of Psy Lords, and then there was the ogre lands, which were ruled by the ogre magi Thanes. And I think I kind of reflavored the ogre magi to be more like Aztec, for their culture.
So we actually played in that game for a long time, and this is the one where, if you've ever heard me talking about like the massive treasure list, this was a game in that world. There was literally pages upon pages of loot. No possible way we could be carrying all of that stuff. It was great. It was amazing. And then Ryan had actually submitted something as well. And his was kind of a nod to Dark Sun. Do you remember much about his world, Dave?
His was, it was kind of a nod to Dark Sun, with it being like sands and swords, or sandals and sorcery, one or the other. But it was also a lot of like based off of like Titans, and kind of like the idea of chained Titans, and kind of borrowing heavily from mythology.
So it's like Dark Sun in Greece.
Pretty much. That was the vibe that I got. It's also been a long time. I saw a question. Oh, Adam Swinford. Question for Dave. How do you like Gen Con? Will you be going again this next year? I would definitely like to do it again. It would be even better if I get the rest of Nerdarchy to go too. We'll have to figure that out. Although it's still a pretty expensive trip, even with sharing rooms and stuff like that. So that always is the hard part, is affording it.
So I'm gonna try to be able to swing next year, because I certainly want to go to Gen Con.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to do it by then.
Lords of the Story, Ryan, but he's doing his own thing, so that's all good. Ryan should be a guest one day. I imagine he will be a guest when he's ready to launch his thing. So then you guys can check out what he's got going on.
All right, Prue. Do you each have that one character that still stands out after all these years, and thinking about playing that character still makes you smile? I know I do.
Well, sure.
It's the Necromancer with Nebdib, obviously, is my choice. I want to play it again, so I'm going to figure out how to do it in 5e, and I'll get it to make it happen. And basically, this was a Necromancer who spoke to the creatures that he summoned, and he had a particular one that was like a rat bat parrot that sat on his shoulder and had its own personality and did stuff on its own, even though he was the one creating it. So he was a little more childlike, but not so much the mind of the child, just kind of like a little bit more innocent on certain things in the world and how things worked. And he just thought it was perfectly acceptable to have his friend, who's always been around, be with him. And, people that don't like undead tend to have problems with that.
The Voyeur's
not like those type of people.
Question. So the Voyeur's got a really good question, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I guess for me, it was my Chaos Cleric. So he was a dwarf. He was a cleric. He worshipped chaos, and he was convinced that there was other chaos dwarves out there. And he believed it so hard. Eventually, it came to pass. So that was in Steve's campaign, and that was one of the evil campaigns we played in. That actually went fairly well. And one of the fun things about that character was he was always trying to sow chaos, so he would manipulate the other players into doing things that maybe they weren't particularly interested in. Like one of his things was definitely trying to manipulate Ted's character into seizing more and more power.
Well, I think there was a combination of your character and the overruly GM. Like, I just wanted to be a general. I wanted to command forces into battle, and the puppet strings were worked against me to try and get me on a throne. I'm like, that's not fun. That's the boring part of ruling. I want the war. And literally the campaign ended with us taking over a castle and me sitting on a throne, and then the game kind of died, and I never got to lead a war.
Yeah, next time.
So I have multiple characters. I really I get into a lot of the characters that I make and really want to see them, go on and do great things. And a lot of times they just don't really, my plans don't always pan out. So that Barbarian Druid I talked about, Raganthar, I would replay that character in a heartbeat. Dave's done a lot of DMing for us, but that one happened to be with Ryan. But the characters I played with Dave, there was Tulba Thagonar, my Elven Undead Slayer, who transferred from 2nd edition to 3rd. And he literally, had all kinds of craziness happen with him, and we've shared some stories with him. My Warforged in 3rd edition, who was actually trying to rally Warforged, to do more things. And I really got into the role-playing stuff that was going on with it, as well as all like the Warforged attachments and things that you could try to get back then. I thought that was kind of awesome. I played a crazy wizard in a world where wizardry is kind of frowned upon. That I played in college, and I would play that character in a heartbeat again, but he basically became a fiend at the end of the game. So I really don't think that that he's PC material anymore. And then I only played him once, but I'm very possibly going to get out the paddles of life and resurrect him for, the next real long-term 5th edition game I'm going to do. And that's my Gnome Illusionist that I made for the one-shot that Dave ran. And that was Freckle Gurgle Up.
Also, this isn't really connected to anything. I just want to throw it out there, guys. There might be another Saver Dice game in the works. With a different cast, so it'll be a collab thing. Nerdarchy will probably be involved to a certain degree, but it'll probably be fun. So if you guys think you'd be interested in that, let us know. Matt Lennington, question: will you guys participate in BrigadeCon this year? We have some ideas for BrigadeCon, and I've been meaning to reach out to them about having someone on a live chat, to talk about and promote the event. So I definitely want to do that. I actually put the BrigadeCon people not in charge, but in touch with some other people that are in the industry to help promote the event and do giveaways and stuff. So now that Gen Con and the LA trip and that stuff is all out of the way, I'm going to actually turn my attention towards BrigadeCon and taking a look at that. Lavoyer, that is an excellent question. Nate, when are you going to start your own DMing campaign?
All right. So it's been a long time coming, and I said earlier this year that I was interested in doing it. So a lot of stuff has come up throughout the time, but I feel like I can confidently set aside time every month to be able to do it, because I didn't want to say, yeah, I'll do it, start it, and then something come up that gets me taken away from it, because that wouldn't be right to the players. what wouldn't be right to any players in general, but on top of that, paying for it, I feel like doubly screwed up to do that. So I feel confident now the school year started for my kids. My wife's home and she's going to be home this following year. So I know I can set aside blocks of time where before I wasn't sure because she had lost her job in June, well, the end of June, beginning of July. So she was scrambling to find a job. So I was like, well, crap, when am I going to, I'm already doing like three or four things between Nerdarchy, being a stay-at-home dad, working at night, working on all this stuff. So it's kind of been hectic, but now I know I can rely on her being home. So I can now go out and, well, not go out, but I can focus a good block of time every week towards the pay-to-play games. So very soon, I'm gonna be putting it back out to the people, the guys and gals that are interested. And if you are interested, you can email me at natethenerdach@gmail.com and just put pay to play in the title. And what we'll talk about soon is I have 3 games that I'm interested in running, and I'm interested in filling up those 3 games before I move on to any other type of game.
So before we start the roll call, Ivan had a GM not one, and I didn't see it until you pointed it out. But you guys start the roll call. I'll put the question out here for the guys. What do you think about making a kingdom centered in a rock's hunting ground? Problem is, what happens when your players slay the rock? And did they smell what he was cooking? That's
all right. So number one, like, did the rock just suddenly appear, or like, is this a revered creature? Like, what kind of like technology level or what have you are we in? Like, I could totally dig it if we were talking about, a civilization, not quite a kingdom, but a civilization that actually considered this some kind of divine creature, and to actually go and slay it would, you'd be an abomination in their eyes. Maybe there's like sacrifices that need to be done. I think it'd be an awesome culture to do if you went from that aspect. If it's just like, all right, well, this is where the kingdom is, and a rock showed up and it decided to be hunting ground, well, then it's just a matter of time before the creature is slain.
Or people move on, one or the other, but you can't.
Well, that too.
So when you guys want to jump in the chat and start reading the roll call?
Absolutely. Let me get to the beginning of it.
We got Todd Boyce is the start there.
All right, yeah. So Todd Boyce in Dallas, Texas. We got staff writer Asia in Lopez Island, Washington. John in Jacksonville, Florida. Lavoyer just laughing. Writer's Block in Dublin, Ireland. Tesmic in Australia. Prue in Denmark. Zarev's Gaming, New Mexico. Ivan in Canada. Contempt in Detroit, Michigan. Ben in New Brunswick. Hal in Austin, Texas. We got Adam Swinford in Indianapolis, Indiana. We got Seekin 4 in Illinois. Regilio in Utah. David in Long Beach, California. Sean, Central Coast, California. Kyle Ellis in Canada. Lavoyer in Orange, California. Hatred of Sins in Bloomington. And, of course, this is where it jumps.
That always happens. Cannot be helped.
Cthulhu Kid, a tip of Texas. The hurricane just missed us. We beat the check.
So then we've got a TV, a Corbin in San Bernardino, California. Rye in Windsor, Ontario. Tabletop Gaming with Juice in Saline, Michigan. Caribou and Friends in North Carolina. Fragginator in Renton, Washington. Andrew in Boston, Massachusetts. Cameron in Indiana. Wilder Smith in New York. Brian's Gate in North Carolina. Inkboy in Texas. Waffrap in Munich, Germany. Matt in Fort Worth, Texas. Keith in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And the Tennyson in Jess in Kentucky.
Ha! I just put my first person in timeout.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't like horrible. They're just being annoying about asking about passwords and usernames.
Yeah.
So now you get blocked. Next time we decapitate. So also like recently during a lot of our live chats, like all the cam girls have been showing up.
Yeah, I saw last night. Last night you got Pixel Cat, whatever.
Yeah.
He came by.
He was just being weird though, and making fun of me for looking like I'm old.
Yeah, and he said, these guys are just playing D&D. Let's leave them alone."
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah, these guys are just having fun playing D&D. I don't know what else he said in the beginning, but that's how he ended it.
Oh, yeah. I
was like, well, that's kind of tame compared to what he could say about people.
It was pretty mild as far as D&D trolls are. And oddly enough, he showed up when the party was fighting a troll, so it was apropos.
Troll slaying.
Maybe that's what I should have did. I should have had the troll just mock the players instead of fight them.
Or just tell them they're going to tell him all these great secrets and then just lie all the time.
Slay the beast. Tabletop views. I should become a cam guy.
Get a big foam D20.
You should, man. You're one sexy beast.
Big foam D20 is the way to go.
Get a big foam to cover my bits. You're too much. You're too much. It's Juice's fault that I write this stupidly long thing whenever I sign something. Just so you know, Juice. I blame you. Blame you and Ed Greenwood in that D20 blessing. Now I am forever stuck. So I guess tonight is the Saver Dice game. So I should tell you guys, come watch Saver Dice tonight. Woohoo! So tonight there's going to be a little bit of a surprise too, is my understanding from the glorious bastard Jim Davis.
Guys, more than all the surprises that have happened so far.
Yeah, you guys will have to. I don't know if I'll be able to wear my pot tonight. You guys have to tune in to see what that is over on the Twitch channel at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep.
Say hello to Magic Juice. Ed Greenwood's fault. Yeah, maybe I'll just start signing it that Ed Greenwood's fault from now on. The abridged version. We do have a GM 911 from Writer's Block. What campaign adventure book ideas would you guys like to see in the new 5e book that haven't been put out so far? Like a monster concept, like I don't know, TOD. TOD. What is that for? Short for
Tomb of Beast, maybe.
But it's a D. It's Todd. Or the SKT. I'm not really. There's too many. Out of the Abyss, I know that one.
SKT is Storm King's Thunder.
Okay, Storm. Yeah.
Or is it Sky King's Thunder?
It might be Sky King's Thunder, man. It might be. So here's the thing. Like, we don't even Ted owns them all, and I own a good chunk of them. We don't actually do anything with them. So we just kind of cherry pick them for maps and monsters and ideas, new rules. I mean, the Rocktopus was a brilliant idea, by the way, but we don't run them. So I don't think we have we're looking for this thing or that thing. It's just we just wait for the next thing. Go, okay, what can we steal out of this? That's my impression anyway. You guys can weigh in.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've cracked them all to some degree or another, but it's only the Tales of the Yawning Portal that I actually felt any desire to actually run or play any of those. And we've had them for months now, and we still haven't managed to schedule or do anything with them. The other ones that are long-standing campaigns, that's not our typical foray. We want to run our own stuff. So
except for Nate. Nate gets the bug to run the adventures when he sees them, I think.
I'm interested in running them. I just don't own any of them. But I like Ravenloft, so Chris Estrad really interests me. And just having an ongoing series where people try and actually survive the Tomb of Horrors would be really funny.
Yeah, I feel like from Out of the Abyss onward, they've really got interesting and cool. But again, it kind of comes with what Ted says, we just tend to run our homebrew stuff and steal from everywheres. It's funny because they're all coming up with the acronyms or coming up with Filling in the
TOD.
acronym for Todd.
Terrible overture drafts, Tales of Dread, Tanks of Deradine,
Don't forget Tomb of Detroit.
Time of Death, Tale Tellers of Destruction. I like that one.
That's like a metal band.
Yeah. A lot of them could be metal bands. So Zareth Gaming have a pretty good setup for the campaign I've been working on. Just needs a new beginning to set in a city during a war. Any ideas?
All right, so we put it in a city that's during a war. No. Sorry.
That's your idea. Well, I mean, you're low level, so it just depends. Like, there's different angles. Like, do you want them to be involved with the war? Do you want them to be involved with helping the people that are stuck? You know, the more like the common folk that are stuck in the city during the war. You know, do you want them to doing political stuff? There's so many different directions you can go with that.
So you have to look at, you know, what's going on, what you're interested in running, and what the players are interested in doing. You know, as Dave says, you could go political, but if you have a party and players that have no desire to get into a political game, well, then you can't go that direction. Do you want the war to be a backdrop, or do you want them to be involved in some way, shape, or form? What's the war about? Is it with a neighboring kingdom, or is there literally like Game of Thrones where people are vying for the throne, and you know the players keep getting caught up in this swell? Is anyone attached to any of the royal lines? Could they possibly become a target because they're linked into that thread? There's so many different directions that you can go. So if you don't have a concept of what you want to do and what the players want to do, like your options are limitless.
Lavoie had a great suggestion. They're war bond salesmen. He said war bonds, and I just decided, yeah, the war bond merchants. That's great.
Daniel Reef wanted to know, would a single hag too difficult for 4-player party of 2 to 3rd level?
Yes.
Off the top of my head, I would say yes, but there's also a bunch of different hags, so you might be able to find one to match up. And I believe there was some weaker ones introduced in the Ravenloft book.
Will they start off at 7 in the Monster Manual, Dave?
There's a challenge rating 2, Sea Hag.
Okay, I'm wrong then. If you want to introduce a hag and you want to use one of the later ones, you just have to set it up in a way that like they're not going to fight the hag until they're actually ready.
But even the Sea Hag is a death glare. So,
and if you think about being on a boat, encounter environment definitely matters. If you're on a boat and the Sea Hag's hanging out around the area, you're at a disadvantage there.
Now, I will say that the DCs are low for the Sea Hag, but if they frighten you and then they hit you with the death glare, you drop to 0. But again, I mean, they're low DCs. I would probably use a Sea Hag against a 2nd or 3rd level party, and actually by herself, she probably need a little help. So like, there's different things you got to look at. Like she hits kind of hard, 2d6 plus 3, but she only gets 1 attack. Illusionary appearance. This is going to be more of an ambush monster. Like this isn't like a straight up fight kind of monster. So that's another factor. It all depends on how you implement the encounter, and why is it you want to use a hag? Like if you're just looking for a monster to throw in your game, like that is the least interesting way to use that type of monster, because hags are interesting and they're schemers, and usually they should be trying to do something cooler.
Yeah, Dave, you're using a hag supposedly in your Scarlet Sisterhood game. It just hasn't even shown up yet, right?
Oh no, it's stole memories from them, right?
A covey of hags, yeah.
I don't recall the things that happened, but basically I know Kenna is scared of the hags from what I got out of the episodes. So bad things are happening with them, and it's not like they haven't slugged it out with them or anything, right?
No, they haven't fought them at all. They've just had their memories stolen, and they've been trying to like research and find information about the hags and how to combat them and get their memories back.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Josh Arbon. Hey guys, just throwing this in. I stumbled on your Dark Sun video and was really interested. Finally got some friends together and going to start our first D&D game this Saturday. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Rocket.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. When people see our stuff and then get into D&D. That's really cool.
Yeah, like I think one of the greatest compliments we hear is like, you know, I saw your videos and I decided to start playing again or start playing for the first time. It's kind of why we do this stuff, so feels good.
So it's about, you know, growing the hobby, you know, helping out people who, you know, might not come up with the ideas themselves. You know, if by watching you become a better player, a better GM, or you just enjoy the content, and that's, you know, it's all worth it for us.
Yeah, if Hatred of Sins, if you send it into the Gmail, then more than likely we have it. So we just kind of amped up our video schedule a little bit, so we'll probably be doing more GM 911s now. But we have like so many video ideas now. We had to add more videos. We had dropped down for like the con and summertime a little bit, but we're back up to 2 a day, in case you guys were wondering. Scarecrows or unicorns? That's an interesting combination.
No. The question was like, you know, what things in the monster manual don't get used as much as they should.
I didn't see the question. I just saw the answer. And I find that is very specific, right? Like to the group and to the individuals, because we kind of did a video on that, and we talk about things that never get used, and people are like, I use that all the time, or you know, or I never use this, and it's like a monster I use all the time. So that part can be kind of specific.
But what about Quaggas?
Quaggas?
Yeah, they're really awesome.
I've used them in the past. I like them as an Underdark grunt monster.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty for a 2 CR monster.
What about the Frog Hemoth?
That's not in the Monsters Manual.
That's true. It's in the Volos.
It's not, and I have used the Frog Hemoth. I think I've used it more than once at this point. I just love that monster.
Myconids. Myconids need to be in things more, but you guys have used Myconids.
Yeah. I've used them as NPCs more so than monsters. Well, I've done both, actually. Because, you know, we had the domestic dispute between two Myconids, and the players had to kind of like intervene with that.
I technically played a Myconid in the Gamma World game.
Yeah, we're like all over Myconids at Nerdarchy. Like just Myconids everywhere. We got Myconid, you know, opium dens. We got Myconid vampires. We got Myconid player characters.
NPCs. It's great. Good times.
They're all over the place.
Shameless, you know, plug for the Bones 3 Kickstarter. There's actually a whole horde of Myconid options that are in that one, and there's like 2.5 days left.
Juice, absolutely. Locrius did an awesome Frog Hemoth. All of that stuff over there is great. And actually, we know the next monster he's working on.
We do.
So we will not spoil it here, though. You guys will be able to. Myconid foot fungus sounds nasty. You guys will just have to keep your eyes open for that. I know some people really enjoy it, and some people don't like it at all. But I am definitely in the really enjoy camp. So it is that time. We've put in our hour. And now we must do other work. I want to thank everyone for hanging out. Thank you guys for hanging out with me here today. We've been up to like 75 plus in the chat, which is really cool. And you know, come check out the Saver Dice game tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time over on the Twitch channel. And of course, if you haven't caught Saver Dice yet, session 0 through 3 is already up on the Saver Dice YouTube channel, so you can go show us some love over there, guys. With that, until next time,
stay nerdy.